We all like to believe that the people close to us want the best for us. But the truth is, not everyone who smiles at you actually supports you. Sometimes the people around you may be carrying hidden resentment, and instead of showing it openly, they express it in subtle ways. If you're not careful, you might miss the signs and keep investing in relationships that drain you rather than uplift you. One of the most telling signs that someone close to you secretly harbors negative feelings toward you is hidden inside the way they compliment you. On the surface, it might look supportive, it might even sound encouraging, but the delivery tells a different story. A backhanded compliment isn't really a compliment at all. It is a disguised jab, a subtle way of tearing you down while pretending to lift you up. You'll hear things like, "Wow, I didn't think you'd actually pull that off," or "You look great today, not like usual." At first, you might laugh it off, telling yourself they're joking or that you're overthinking it, but deep down, you can feel the sting. True support never makes you doubt yourself. It never leaves you wondering whether the words were meant to build you or break you. When the people closest to you use this tactic often, it creates confusion. You start to question whether they're really on your side or if they're keeping a mask on while letting their resentment slip through little cracks in the form of humor or sarcasm. The danger of backhanded compliments is that they play with your emotions in a very subtle way. They force you to smile or say thank you while you carry a small bruise inside. Over time, those bruises add up, and you start to shrink your achievements just to avoid their cutting remarks. You might avoid sharing your good news because you know it's going to be met with a smile that doesn't match the words, or a tone that says they're not truly happy for you. People who secretly dislike you often use this method because it lets them attack you without being obvious. If you confront them, they'll say you're too sensitive or that you can't take a joke. This way, they shift the blame back onto you while continuing to mask their real feelings. It's important to recognize how consistent these moments are. One comment might not mean much, but when it becomes a pattern, you're no longer dealing with harmless teasing. You're dealing with someone who uses words as weapons while pretending to be supportive. Think about how you feel after interacting with them. Do you leave feeling encouraged, or do you feel smaller, second-guessing yourself, wondering if you should have even shared? That feeling of being subtly diminished is the real clue, because people who truly care about you will never leave you questioning their intentions. Their compliments will be clear, their words will feel safe, and their energy will align with your success. Another angle to watch for is the timing. Often these comments come right when you're proud of yourself or when others are recognizing you. In those moments, instead of celebrating with you, they sneak in a remark that brings the spotlight back down. It's like they can't stand to see you stand tall, so they disguise their jealousy as humor. That's the heart of the issue: jealousy and resentment wearing the mask of friendliness. These people want to appear supportive, but deep inside, they're unsettled by your growth, and their words reveal it even when they try to hide it. You'll also notice the tone of delivery. It's never fully warm, it's laced with sarcasm or delivered with a smirk that tells you it's not genuine. They might even say it in front of others, making it a joke at your expense, so you're forced to laugh along to save face. What they're really doing is asserting dominance over you in subtle ways, chipping away at your confidence without ever raising their voice. This is how secret dislike operates. It's quiet, it's disguised, but it's effective at leaving you second-guessing yourself. Over time, the impact is not just about the words themselves, but about how they shape your relationship. You may start to trust them less, share less of your victories, and distance yourself emotionally without even realizing it. Your subconscious begins to protect you by withdrawing, because deep down it knows those compliments aren't safe. When someone truly respects you, their praise feels like fuel, it energizes you, it makes you want to keep going. But when it comes from someone who secretly resents you, it feels like a disguised insult, draining you little by little until you notice the weight of it. The key is to stop brushing these moments off as harmless or convincing yourself you're being too sensitive. Sensitivity isn't the problem. Awareness is the strength. Once you recognize that these comments are a pattern, you can see them for what they are. They're not slips of the tongue, they're not jokes, they're signs of hidden animosity. And the more you pay attention, the more you'll notice that the people who truly support you don't ever need to lace their encouragement with poison. Their compliments are clean, genuine, and free of the subtle sting that leaves you wondering where you stand. Another sign that someone close to you secretly dislikes you is the way they dismiss your achievements. And this can be one of the most damaging behaviors because it attacks the very moments that should build your confidence. When you work hard for something, whether it's a career milestone, a personal goal, or even just a small victory in your daily life, the natural response of someone who truly cares for you is to celebrate with you, to make you feel seen, valued, and encouraged. But when the person you trust or spend the most time with refuses to acknowledge your progress or downplays it with subtle remarks, what they're really showing is their discomfort with your growth. You might notice that when you share exciting news instead of enthusiasm, you're met with a flat response like, "Oh, that's good," or "Well, that's not that hard." They might even change the subject quickly or shift the focus back to themselves as if your success is inconvenient for them. This lack of genuine recognition leaves you second-guessing the value of your own progress, and that's exactly how resentment shows itself without words like, "I hate you." The danger of having your achievements dismissed is that it slowly chips away at your sense of self-worth. At first, you might excuse it, thinking maybe they're having a bad day or that they just don't understand what it means to you. But patterns don't lie. When it keeps happening, you begin to see that it's not about misunderstanding, it's about resistance. Resistance to seeing you rise, resistance to accepting that you're moving forward, resistance to acknowledging that you're capable of more than they expected. Instead of congratulating you, they minimize what you've done by pointing out flaws or by reminding you of someone else who's done it better. If you run a marathon, they'll say, "Lots of people do that." If you get promoted, they'll say, "It's about time." If you reach a personal goal, they'll say, "It's not like you cured cancer." Those little phrases may seem casual, but they carry a heavy message. They don't want to validate your effort because deep down it threatens them. What makes this kind of behavior hurt even more is that it comes from people you expect support from. Friends, partners, family members. These are supposed to be the ones who clap for you the loudest, but instead they act as if what you've accomplished doesn't matter. That dissonance leaves you confused, questioning why the people you care about don't mirror the excitement you feel inside. Sometimes they'll even mask it as practicality or tough love, saying things like, "Don't get too full of yourself," or "Don't celebrate too early." But if you look closer, you realize it's not about keeping you grounded, it's about keeping you small. A subtle thing you might notice is how they react in group settings when others praise you. Someone who secretly resents you often tries to minimize your spotlight. If a group congratulates you, they might laugh it off, bring up a past mistake, or quickly shift the conversation to themselves. It's not always loud jealousy. Sometimes it's quiet sabotage, stealing the joy out of the moment so you don't get to feel the full weight of your accomplishment. And if you call them out on it, they'll usually deflect, saying you're reading too much into it or that they were just joking. That's part of the manipulation, making you doubt your own perception while they continue to avoid showing genuine support. The long-term impact of this dismissal is that it creates a hesitation inside you. You start to filter what you share and who you share it with, because the last thing you want is to have your proudest moments turned into something meaningless. You begin to look for validation elsewhere, often from strangers or colleagues, because those closest to you have trained you to expect indifference or even subtle negativity. That's not how healthy relationships work. Healthy connections thrive when both people can celebrate each other without comparison, without envy, and without resistance. What this dismissal really reveals is that your success shines a light on their insecurities. Instead of being inspired by you, they feel exposed. Your progress reminds them of where they've fallen short, and rather than dealing with those feelings, they project their discomfort onto you by downplaying your wins. This isn't about you not being good enough. It's about them not being able to handle the reflection of your growth. And while it may be painful to accept, recognizing this truth is crucial because it helps you understand that their lack of acknowledgement is not a reflection of your worth, but of their inner struggle. Constant comparison is another clear sign that someone close to you might secretly dislike you, and it's one of the most exhausting patterns to deal with because it slowly eats away at your sense of uniqueness. When a person values you, they see you for who you are, they acknowledge your journey and your growth without needing to hold it up against someone else's. But when there is hidden resentment or jealousy, you'll notice they almost never let you stand on your own. Instead, they measure everything you do against another person, often in ways that make you feel smaller or inadequate. It could be a sibling, a mutual friend, a coworker, or even a stranger they use as a yardstick. You might hear things like, "That's good, but did you see what she did?" Or, "You're doing well, but he's already way ahead." The message is never about celebrating your effort. It's about reminding you that no matter how far you've come, in their eyes, it's not enough. The real damage of this behavior comes from the way it distorts your perception of your own progress. Achievements that once felt meaningful start to feel less valuable because they're constantly being weighed against someone else's. Instead of being proud of yourself, you're left feeling like you're in a race you didn't sign up for, and the person doing the comparing often disguises it as motivation, pretending they're pushing you to do better. But deep down, it's not about lifting you up. It's about dragging you into a cycle where you never feel satisfied. This keeps you dependent on their approval, always reaching for a bar that keeps moving because it's set by someone else's life, not your own. Another subtle aspect of constant comparison is the way it's used to create insecurity. When someone secretly dislikes you, they don't want to directly confront you or make their feelings obvious, so they chip away at you indirectly. By comparing you to others, they plant seeds of doubt about whether you're doing enough, whether you're good enough, or whether you're ever going to measure up. And because it's wrapped in statements that sound reasonable on the surface, you might even start to believe them. Over time, you begin to internalize their voice, hearing it in your own thoughts, and that's when comparison becomes truly destructive. It stops being just their problem and starts becoming part of your self-talk. You'll also notice that comparisons rarely happen when you're struggling. They tend to show up when you're succeeding, when you've made progress, when you're feeling proud. Instead of letting you enjoy that moment, they make sure to pull out another name, another standard, another story that shifts the focus away from your achievement. It's like they can't stand to see you fully enjoy your own growth without reminding you that someone else is supposedly ahead. This is not encouragement, this is resentment dressed up as realism. People who care about you will celebrate your progress as it is, not as it stacks up against the rest of the world. The impact on relationships is heavy because comparison erodes trust. When the person closest to you can't acknowledge you without dragging someone else into the picture, it signals that they don't really value you for who you are. And deep down, that can create emotional distance. You may not even realize it at first, but you'll begin to share less, to protect yourself from the subtle sting of always being told you're not enough compared to someone else. This distancing is your mind's way of shielding your self-esteem from being chipped away piece by piece. At its core, constant comparison reveals a lot more about the person doing it than the one receiving it. It shows their insecurity, their jealousy, and their inability to feel comfortable with your growth. By comparing you to others, they try to level the playing field, to make themselves feel better about where they are. Instead of dealing with their own shortcomings, they project them onto you, making you carry the weight of their discomfort. And while it may feel personal, it's not truly about you. It's about them struggling to accept that your progress is shining a light on their stagnation. Recognizing this truth doesn't make it hurt any less, but it does help you understand why it happens and why it feels so draining every time they do it. One of the clearest signs that someone close to you secretly dislikes you is revealed in how they respond when you are struggling, because struggles expose the truth in people. When everything is going well and you are winning, almost anyone can smile and pretend to be supportive. But when life gets heavy and you are weighed down by disappointment, loss, or setbacks, that is when hidden feelings rise to the surface. A person who truly cares will step closer, offering support, encouragement, or even just their presence to remind you that you're not alone. But someone who secretly resents you often does the opposite. They distance themselves. They grow quieter, or they give shallow responses that make you feel like your pain is an inconvenience. They may even show subtle satisfaction, a quiet sense of relief that you're not doing as well as you once were. And while they might never admit that, their energy tells the story louder than words ever could. You'll notice this in little ways. Maybe when you share that you're going through a tough time, they barely respond or quickly change the subject, showing no interest in how you're holding up. Sometimes they may even point out that you should have seen it coming or should have handled things differently, masking their lack of empathy as advice. But deep inside, it's not advice, it's judgment. And judgment in your low moments is one of the cruelest signs of hidden resentment. Instead of lifting you, they use your weakness as proof that you're not as strong or capable as you thought, and that feeds the bitterness they've been carrying all along. What makes this especially painful is that during struggles, you're vulnerable and you expect closeness from those you trust. You hope for encouragement, or at least a safe space to be heard. When that is replaced with distance, indifference, or subtle satisfaction, the betrayal cuts deeper because it is revealed at a time when you needed them most. The absence of genuine care becomes louder than any words, and you start to see that maybe the connection you thought you had wasn't as solid as you believed. Pay close attention to how they behave when you're going through hardship compared to how they behave when others are struggling. If you see them showing care, empathy, and support to others but becoming detached or dismissive toward you, that contrast is revealing. It means the issue isn't about them not knowing how to be supportive. It's about them not wanting to be supportive to you. That unwillingness is rooted in something deeper, often envy or resentment that surfaces when life humbles you. To them, your struggles feel like balance, like you're finally being brought down to a level where they're more comfortable, and instead of compassion, you see quiet satisfaction. Another subtle indicator is how they talk about your setbacks to others. People who secretly dislike you may highlight your failures or mistakes when you're not around, almost celebrating them in a disguised way. They may use phrases like, "Yeah, things haven't been going well for them," with a tone that doesn't carry concern, but rather a smugness, as if your pain validates their hidden feelings. And if you hear about these comments, it becomes clear that their empathy is selective, only offered when it suits them or when it doesn't involve you. The emotional weight of realizing this is heavy because you begin to understand that not everyone close to you wants to see you rise again. Some are more comfortable watching you struggle because it reassures them that you're not too far ahead, that you're not untouchable, that you're not living the life they secretly wish they had. And while they won't say it, their actions, or lack of action, reveal their truth. They don't rush to help, they don't check in, they don't celebrate your resilience, because deep down, they don't want to see you come back stronger. The most dangerous part is how easily you can blame yourself for their absence. You may convince yourself that you didn't explain your struggles well enough, or that you're asking for too much, or that they're just busy. But the reality is, people make time for what matters to them. And if they consistently fail to show up when you need them most, it's because your well-being doesn't matter to them the way you thought it did. That realization hurts, but it's also liberating because it helps you separate genuine friends from those who only stand close when the spotlight is on you. True connection reveals itself in times of darkness, and when someone pulls away instead of leaning in, when they judge instead of comfort, when they quietly smile at your pain instead of lifting you out of it, what you're seeing is not just indifference, it's the unveiling of how they truly feel beneath the surface. Another powerful sign that someone close to you secretly hates you is how they react when you succeed or when happiness finds its way into your life. Because genuine love and support cannot hide in moments of joy. Pay attention to whether your wins make them feel excited for you or uncomfortable around you. A real friend or loved one feels your victories as if they were their own. They clap for you, they encourage you to enjoy the moment, and their energy lifts you higher. But someone who secretly resents you cannot hide their disappointment when things are going well for you. Their smile may look forced, their words may sound flat, or their congratulations may be short and hollow. Deep down, your joy exposes their unhappiness, your success reminds them of where they feel stuck, and instead of celebrating you, they wrestle with envy that shows up in the way they act. Sometimes this reveals itself in silence. You share good news, expecting excitement, but instead you get a cold pause or a quick change of subject. That lack of acknowledgement isn't accidental. It's their way of showing that your happiness doesn't serve them. Other times it appears in sarcasm or mockery, where they laugh at your accomplishment or make it seem less meaningful, all while pretending it's just a joke. And at times it comes through in subtle competition, where they suddenly need to share their own achievement to overshadow yours, making sure the spotlight doesn't stay on you for too long. Each of these behaviors is a reflection of how they really feel about your growth. They don't like it, they can't accept it, and they certainly don't want to celebrate it. What makes this so damaging is that you begin to sense it even when they don't say anything directly. Human beings pick up on energy, and when your joy is met with discomfort instead of genuine enthusiasm, you feel it in your gut. You walk away from sharing your good news not feeling uplifted, but unsettled, questioning why it didn't feel like a safe moment. Over time, you may even start to shrink your happiness, downplay your victories, or hide them altogether, because the very people who should be celebrating you make you feel guilty for having something to be proud of. That shrinking is one of the most dangerous effects of dealing with people who secretly resent you. It trains you to dim your light just to keep the peace. It's also worth noticing how they respond when other people celebrate you. If a group claps for you, watch the one who stays quiet, rolls their eyes, or finds a way to pull the attention elsewhere. That quiet resistance is not random, it's rooted in the discomfort they feel watching you shine. They may even try to highlight flaws in your achievement, saying things like, well, it's not that big of a deal, or anyone could have done that, trying to take away the power of your moment. Instead of your success inspiring them, it threatens them. And so their instinct is to make sure it doesn't elevate you too far above where they feel you should be. The deeper truth is that your happiness reminds them of their own lack. And rather than dealing with their insecurities, they project that discomfort onto you. Your joy feels like a mirror, showing them what they haven't achieved, what they haven't fixed, or what they've been too afraid to chase. And instead of being motivated by your progress, they retreat into bitterness, using dismissal, sarcasm, or silence to protect themselves from feeling inadequate. The tragedy is that they don't realize how obvious it becomes, because the absence of genuine excitement always speaks louder than the most carefully chosen words. This behavior doesn't just impact your relationship with them, it impacts your relationship with yourself. When the people closest to you can't celebrate your happiness, you start to feel conflicted about your own growth. Moments that should feel joyful become mixed with guilt or doubt, as if succeeding means losing connection with the ones you love. You might find yourself watering down your good news, sharing it only halfway, or avoiding it altogether just to avoid the uncomfortable reactions. That's how resentment steals not just your joy, but also your voice, because it convinces you that being fully happy will cost you the approval of those around you. Over time, this reveals the real divide between genuine supporters and hidden haters. Those who love you will clap whether your win is big or small because they understand that your light doesn't dim theirs. Those who secretly resent you will withhold their joy because your light makes their darkness harder to ignore. Their inability to share in your happiness is one of the clearest signs of hidden dislike, because love and envy cannot occupy the same space. And when your joy bothers someone more than it excites them, that tells you exactly where they stand.